In the last video, we looked at a standard way that a private student loan was structured. Namely, we took a loan that was going to be $4,000 a semester for each of the freshman and sophomore years. So a total of $16,000 was borrowed, and we calculated what the payment was going to be after we graduated and what the total cost of that loan was going to be. Now, starting at least in March of 2009, Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, is going to restructure loans in a different way. So let's take a look at the same loan. By the way, it was at a 12% annual rate. And we want to calculate what the payment will be upon graduation and also what the total cost of the loan is going to be there. Now, so we'll start with the same type of situation. We'll borrow $4,000 beginning of the freshman year. And so what do we owe? Well, the amount that we owe is just going to be $4,000. That's what we borrow. Now, the difference in this setup is that now the company is going to require you to pay the interest on your loan while you're in college. So if it's 12% a year, that means in each month it's going to be 1% a month. Okay, so 1% of $4,000 will be $40. So our payments are going to be $40 a month there for the first 6 months. Now, we'll assume that the semester is 6 months, not quite 6 months. So next semester we're going to borrow another $4,000. Okay, now the total amount of our loan has now gotten to $8,000. And what about our interest payments? Well, so 1% of the $8,000, our interest payments have now gone up to $80 a month. And we'll pay those till either we get more money or we leave college or something. Okay, so let's say sophomore year starts, we'll get another $4,000. So now our total loan has gone up to $12,000. Now what about our monthly payments? Well, 1% of the $12,000, our monthly payments have now gone up to $120 a month. All right, and we'll pay those a while. And now let's see, second semester of the sophomore year, we need tuition again, something like that. We'll borrow $4 more thousand. Now the total loan value has gone up to $16,000. And what about our monthly payments? Well, 1% of the $16,000 has now gone up to $160 a month. Okay, so now we're paying $160 a month, and we'll say now we're going to not borrow any more money until we graduate out here. So we'll go through, we've got like 2.5 years, so 30 months later, we'll graduate. Okay, and so now we have to start paying off the loan. Okay, so what's the payoff going to be? Well, we now owe at this point just $16,000, all right, and at a 12% rate. So let's calculate what the payments are going to be. All right, we'll bring our calculator in here. Okay, so we're going to assume we pay it off as we did before, 110 years, that's 120 months, at a 12% rate. Our present value, the amount we owe is only $16,000 this time. And we want to find the payment, and we're paying it off monthly. All right, we'll solve for that. And it comes out to be $229.55. All right, so our monthly payment here upon graduation is $229.55. Okay, well, actually, you see that compares pretty favorably with what it was before. 300. It's almost it's $110 per month less. Okay. Now let's see if we can figure the total cost of the loan? Well, what's the total cost going to be? Well, let's take $229.55 times 120 months. Okay, that's going to give us what? I should come back here. That's 27,546. But now that's just the total cost after we graduated. We have to also take into account the money that we paid when we were in school. So we got to do an additional kind of calculation here. Let me get another kind of color here. Okay, so we paid for 6 months at $40 a month. So that's going to be $240 there. Okay, and then we paid 6 months at $80 a month. All right, that's going to be $480. And then we paid 6 more months at $120 a month. That was works out to be $720. And finally, now we paid a total of 30 months at $160 a month. That's getting pretty steep. That's $4,800. Okay, now, so if we add up all of these, we'll come and see that this is going to be 6240. Okay, so what do we get now when we add the amount of interest that we paid while in school to the total amount of the loan after we started paying it down? It comes out that this is going to be what? 33,786. Well, you see that's still very favorable to what we paid originally. Our original cost here, when we postponed the all payments until after we graduated, we ended up with a certain higher cost here. So it's about $7,000, the difference. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this? Well, certainly for the student, an advantage is smaller payment. Clearly, a smaller payment is an advantage, and a smaller total cost. Now, that's an advantage. But what about the disadvantage? Well, the disadvantage is right here. Namely, you're going to have to be making payments while in school. Right? And not everybody can afford to make those payments. And if you can't afford those payments, you can't get the loan. Okay. Now, what about from the company's viewpoint? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Well, the big advantage is it's got a good cash flow. Increased cash flow. Namely, it doesn't have to wait till after you graduate before it starts getting its money. It starts getting money right along the way. Secondly, a benefit of this is that it's going to cut down on people who are at risk. In other words, a person is going to have a certain amount of income in order to get a loan. And if a person can't afford to make these payments, they're not going to get a loan. And the theory, from the viewpoint of the company, is that if a person is not going to be able to, if it's a very risky person, they're going to a risky borrower, then they won't be able to make these payments, and it's going to increase their bottom line that way. Well, that's a quick look at the changes in private student loans, how they're structured, and you need to be aware of these changes and the fact that the costs are now more front-loaded when you get into a private student loan.